did you have that in the back of your head? I know everyone's like, go to New York, you have to go to New York. Like was that something that weighed on you as well? Or was just like, I had a great experience with these people, let me try it out?
Well, at that point, I knew I wanted to give it a go to be a professional jazz musician.
Mm-hmm.
And how that would happen, yeah, going to New York at some point was definitely something I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
But this was an amazing opportunity. I wasn't ready for New York.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't know enough tunes. I had a good beat,
Mm-hmm.
but I was pretty green, I'm 23 years old and I wasn't ready for New York. But the Blue Wisp experience helped me to be ready.
Yeah.
We had a house rhythm section. There was a big band one night a week. At first, I was only in the trio for the guest artists on the weekends, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. But then I became the house bass player for the big band as well. And I did that for the last 4 years that I was there. So 4 nights a week, I played jazz in that club. And we had guest soloists every week.
Mm-hmm.
And at least twice a month, it was somebody of national or international stature, and the rest were local or regional.
Yeah.
All amazing players. So I got to play with a long list of people in styles, amazing styles.
Yeah.
One week it could be Scott Hamilton and Warren Bechet on one end, and then Joe Lovano on the other end, Charlie
Yeah.
Rouse, Herb Ellis, Mark Murphy. I mean, it's unbelievable when I look back. So it's like, so that was my real graduate school.
Oh, of course.
It was amazing. And then I made my first jazz records, with the Blue Wisp Big Band. And I got to play with so many wonderful people and learn a lot of tunes and be forced to put the fake book down out
Yeah.
of shame. I remember
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I remember John Von Olin said, man, how many times are you going to read that bleeping tune?
Yeah.
And I said, well, I don't want to mess it up. And he says, close the book, put it down. You know it.
Yeah.
So I did, and I learned to trust myself. And it took a while, but, because I grew up reading music in the orchestra. That just was normal. I still am a good reader, and I do feel that you can play good jazz while you're reading music.
Mm-hmm.
If you are, but anyway, that helped me do that. Welcome. Please put your hands together for Davy Mooney at the guitar, and I'm Lynn Seaton. We're going to start with I Can't Give You Anything But Love, baby.
do have just a question about the Francois Raboth, because your technique is incredible, and you have such an individual, unique sound.
Thank you.
So when you saw Raboth, how much were you practicing to get that technique? And I don't care if it was 8 hours or 1 hour, it doesn't matter. I'm just kind of curious at that time.
Well, talking about big practice things, I've had 2 huge practice blocks in my life.
Mm-hmm.
One was still in Oklahoma, and I have to talk about that. I had played bass all my life, but at some point I said, I think I really want to give it a go. Mm-hmm. And there's so much I don't know. So I had a good fortune to play in a blues-based rock band called Zebek, which I joined after the unfortunate accident of the bass player before me passed away in a car accident. And I got the gig, and they were well established in Oklahoma. We'd play a week in a club, a week in another club in different small towns in Oklahoma City and Tulsa. And it was a full-time gig. And they were already successful when I joined them. They had a whole circuit. So I played that band for a year, and I saved up some money. I quit the band, and I moved into a friend's garage who had a garage apartment above it, mm-hmm. and I had free rent. And for about 6 months, I hit the shed. Mm-hmm. And I was playing jazz and playing with my friends, and the person that was upstairs was a guitar player named Randy Neal, and we'd play a lot. I left the bass out right there.
Yeah.
So I'd wake up and Lynn, play me. And I knew some things I made a list of things that I had to do. I didn't keep a practice log. I've never done that per se. I mean, I know what I need to practice, and to this day there's stuff sitting on my stand waiting to be played. Mm-hmm. But anyway, I practiced a lot. Mm-hmm. Then getting to the Raboth technique, I mean, the stuff that Rufus Reed gave me from the NAA grant was a huge thing for me. Mm-hmm. The technical stuff that he had me do, and the big one of writing bass lines. Mm-hmm. How do I get from this chord to that chord? Yes, transcribing was very important too. Learning classic bass lines off of records, or now we have lots of books of pre-transcribed things. Those are very beneficial too. Mm-hmm. But Rufus had me write pages and pages of bass lines. Mm. How do you get from here to there? And it was so helpful for me. It was like before we had these phones with apps that told us how to get where we had to go. We had to know how to get there, not just be told turn right, turn left. It's very similar to playing through changes. Mm-hmm. How do I get there? How do I go the scenic route? So I can't thank Rufus particularly enough for some of that, you know. But regarding the Raboth technique, a little later I was on the Count Basie Orchestra. We went to Paris, and we were there for 2 weeks, and at the Club Lionel Hampton, and I got brave, and I found Francois Raboth's phone number, and I called him up and invited him to the gig. So he said, sure,
Wow.
And he said, you want to come over to my house for dinner? And I said, sure. And he was teaching some lessons at that time, and with the permission of the student, I was able to observe. And he had said to me, I see you playing across the strings and stuff. You should really check out some of the things in my technique. And I said, I've had your books for a few years, but I don't know where to start. So he showed me some of the basis of the pivot, starting with the C major scale at the heel, with the pivot back and everything closed. And then he showed me the same thing with the thumb on the C on the G string. And that was how it started for me. I began to see. So regarding what and how to practice, I'm on the road full time. We traveled 50 I mean, out of the 52 weeks, we've traveled 45 weeks a
Yeah.
year. So my practice was in the room, or after setup, I'd go with the setup crew sometimes and play in the hall, sometimes
Yeah.
jam with Dennis McCrell, the wonderful drummer and friend. But anyway, I would practice in my room. But because this stuff was so new and so weird, when I used that technique, I didn't sound very good.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I would go to the gig and play my old technique, and then I'd go practice this new stuff. And I know it sounded awful because the people that had a room next to me told me so. But bit by bit, I said, okay, here's how I can negotiate a blues with this new technique. So I'd go to the gig and I say, okay, first chorus or one of the choruses, I'm going to use this pivot and play it. And like, oh, nope, back to the old one. And then eventually it's like, oh, I made it through.
Yeah.
And then at one point, I realized I had done it without planning on doing it. That's when I know it started to happen.
Yeah.
So yes, it taught me the fingerboard in ways that I never dreamed. Because I didn't study extensively with Roboth in person, although I feel a huge, deep, deep connection to him.
Yeah.
I also explored some other scalar and modal things and arpeggiation things, taking what I had known about the technique in some other modes than are in his books.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one to do that from the jazz world, but it really helped me. Another classic standard, I'll Remember April.
So how did you get from playing in the Blue Wisp big band, that amazing experience, to then you went to Woody Herman's band before Count Basie, right?
Yes. Well, the Blue Wisp Big Band was the first place that I made some jazz records.
Mm-hmm.
And some of those records made it to the national charts,
Mm-hmm.
you know. And with all of the guest artists that we had, they would play with the big band on Wednesday, and then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, they'd play with the trio. So it was a lot of veterans from all over the country, East Coast, West Coast, veterans of Basie, Ellington, Woody, Buddy.
Yeah.
Unbelievable. And of course, Von Olin was ex-Kenton and ex-Woody, ex-Billy Maxted, you know. So Phil DeGreg, a wonderful pianist and educator, and Jim Rupp was the drummer on the Basie band at the time. He's also from Ohio. They knew me, and we had played some together. So with Woody's band, the way it worked is that people would pass around tapes on the bus. And so there was a pool of contenders for any available opening.
Yeah.
And I was one of those. So when they needed a bass player, my name came up, and recordings of the Blue Wisp were passed around. And of course, a couple of people actually knew me, so that helped. And I got the call. And I was honestly hesitant to go out because I'm playing at the Blue Wisp 4 nights a week. I had a swing-oriented band every Tuesday night at a club literally 1 block from my house called Arnold's, with Katie Lauer and Buck Pfeiffer, clarinet player, and Ted DuPont, wonderful stride piano player, playing a whole nother set of music.
Yeah.
So I'm playing jazz 5 nights a week with high-level professional players that were better than I was. So I was like, why do I want to go on the road with a bunch of college kids, you know?
Yeah.
But Von Olin said, man, you got to do it. That's a whole nother thing to go out there and do the consistency of what's on the road.
Yeah.
You know? And it's some of the greatest music ever. And I'm so glad that he convinced me I should go, you know, because I'm a homebody.
Yeah.
I spent 16 years on the road. I can't believe it.
Yeah.
But I did, you know.
Yeah.
So I'm really glad I went. And I went out on the road and met the band in Battle Creek, Michigan. And I actually met the band at the Detroit airport, but that's a whole nother story. But it was an amazing experience, you know.
I like to.
Continue now with another favorite tune. You don't know what love is.
It seems like everyone I've talked to who's been in one of Woody's bands, it's like the band chooses the new person. It's not like Woody chooses the new person. He fires the person.
Yes.
But it's like a group decision, right?
Yes, it is. You know, so that's pretty cool.
And who was playing drums when you first were with Woody's band?
Well, let's see. I think Dave Miller.
Okay.
No. It was Rupp. Rupp came and went. Rupp
Okay.
was there my first night, And then he left and Miller came back. He and Rupp kind of traded chairs for a while. And Jeff Hamilton came on a few times. But Rupp was there my first night. How could I forget that? Because of my interesting first night, you know, which I'll tell you the story if you'd like to hear it.
I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, and the Chicago Brad Williams was playing piano. There's a Brad Williams here in Dallas, also a fine piano player. Both of them are. So that was the rhythm section. But yes, I'll tell you about my first day on the band. I got the call, and obviously when they need someone really soon. So I packed up, again, all my cares and woes, and I didn't really have a decent suitcase, but my first time I went out on the road, you have to take all these clothes, you know, because you're not coming home for a while. So I ended up using my father's Navy trunk, you know, a foot locker. That was what I had my clothes in. And I had to go get a hard case for my electric bass, you know, and didn't have a case for my upright, but bought a seat for it at that point in time. And I flew out to Detroit to meet the band. And so I'm on a separate flight, obviously. And they said, well, when you get to the Detroit airport, you go outside and you'll see a group section for just buses. Our bus will be out there. And I was like, okay, thanks. You know, well, Woody didn't have a bus with Woody Herman Band on the side. It was a rental bus. So I have my amplifier, I have my electric bass case, I have my upright case, I have a suitcase, and I had a separate little amp bag. So all this luggage, but fortunately it was all on wheels, you know, because I had a cabinet that I played for years and years and years that was self-contained road case with wheels, but I had to put other stuff around it. So, and I had a bass wheel. But anyway, I'm coming out of the airport, and there's a whole bunch of buses out there. So I'm going to each one with all my stuff. Is this the Woody Herman bus? No. Is this the Woody Herman bus? No. So I finally found the bus, and I get my stuff on there. But no one else is on the bus. Turns out the band's flight was late, and we had to get from Detroit to Battle Creek, Michigan. So they finally come in, and we're cutting it to the wire. So everybody gets on the bus. The driver puts the pedal to the metal, you know, and we're driving as fast as he could, which is faster than he should. And we get to it, and we were playing in a hockey rink in Battle Creek, Michigan. So we get there and we set up. Of course, Woody often traveled separate from the band, so he was already there. So we set up as quickly as we could. Some of the people go into the dressing room, and one of those was Jim Rupp. Woody had a whistle around his neck, and one of those famous charts called Woody's Whistle. And when it was time to call the troops and get people together, he'd blow the whistle. So it's time. I mean, it's maybe, I don't know, a few minutes past downbeat time. And so I'm up on the bandstand and I'm ready to go, and Woody turned around and said, wow, if we had a drummer, we could at least play some small group tunes, you know. So he gets on the mic and he goes, Jim Rupp, I need a drummer. And Jim's in the dressing room going, oh no. So Jim throws his uniform on, and our uniform was basically the look-alike t-shirts and blue jeans. So he runs out and climbs up on the bandstand, and the rest of the band comes on there. And no one had told me how things go down at the start of a show. What happens? So they get in place, and Woody turns around to Jim and goes, roll 'em! And Jim, so I look in the book, and what I'm about to tell you took maybe 10 seconds, but it felt like hours in slow motion. I'm looking for roll 'em.
Oh,
and so Jim's rolling, and he sees that, and he said, no, the theme. And now I'm looking for the theme. And he's like, no, you know, Blue Flame. And, you know, and then he said, just play a B flat. Finally, booty, but I did that. But all that took such a short time, but it was like, what a panic way to start. And of course, there's no chart for it anyway. Thankfully, I knew it, but just your brain in those situations, you're like, what?
Oh yeah, that's terrifying. But how nice of Jim Rupp to help you out at least.
Oh,
Not
and
everybody
when
would have done that.
yeah, well, he's laughing. He still laughs about it. And now we'd like to play Stella by Starlight. we're going to close with a Duke Ellington classic. This is entitled, It Don't Mean a Thing If It Ain't Got That Swing.